Well, hello everybody and welcome to Metaworld News for the week ending August the 6th. My name is Mal Bones and I'm your presenter this week. I'm joined by James Atloud, who will have some developer news for us. And basically, I'm just going to go through the headlines from my own Twitter feeds, or also our program news feed. You can find me at twitter.com/malbones, MALBURNS, or one word. And if you have a problem remembering any of the links I mentioned, then that's where you will find them, and you can do a direct click through. Okay, starting off midweek, actually, there weren't any real major highlights at the beginning of the week, although ad lib here. Monday last week, the day after our last news, it was always to be expected at some point, but we weren't really expecting it so soon, and that was Linden Labs, the purveyors of that grand old Second Life platform, announced their new world had gone into finally public beta, which means anybody can go in and play with it, and it's called Samsara. This isn't the place to give you an extensive review of that. It's full of very mesh-like, colourful, well-lit experiences. Unfortunately, it's a bit awkward because you can't sit on anything, and it's half the experiences take maybe 20 or 30 minutes to actually load. This is certainly not a good thing. But when you do get in, some of the experiences, as they call them, are pretty gorgeous, if you have all the time to spare to let them load. And it's not a world as such, like Second Life or indeed OpenSim. It is very much a combination of spaces where you just go from one space to another, rather like a sine wave space, which is I wouldn't compare them in saying they're that similar, but they have commonalities, and at the moment sine wave space is vastly superior to whatever it is Linden Labs have come up with. I do believe they've written their own engine rather than use Unity or CryEngine or anything else like that. So obviously they've had to build their own engine too. Anyway, that all happened on Monday. But skipping through to midweek, I have a post from hackermoon.com. Sorry, I got that wrong. It's Hacker Noon. So hacker as in the naughty boys, and noon as in the time of day. All one word, hackernoon.com. And they have a post about anonymity in virtual reality, the reasons for it, the reasons against it, etc., etc. Virtual reality, or one word, -news.net, has a post about Hewlett Packard HP debuting their VR backpack at SIGGRAPH 2017. This is clearly designed to be used with headsets and everything else. Basically, it puts everything in a backpack for you, so you haven't got any trailing cables. And I suppose you can go out and look like a hitchhiker, except for the helmet, of course. And as you're climbing a real-world mountain, you're viewing it in virtual reality too, and beware if there's any differences, because you might be on the mountain in VR and fall off in RL. So certainly obviously some good uses for people who need immersive VR headsets and stuff and want them to be portable. Right, next post comes from uploadvr.com. Uploadvr, the letters, one word, .com. AtomView brings real-world scans into VR with realistic results. This is about a new piece of software that allows content creators to translate real-world scans into assets they can actually use in virtual environments. So I don't know, you might have some photographs, for example, of the inside of a room in real life, and it can sort of sense the objects in the room and, where possible, do a volumetric capture to convert them into 3D objects, probably meshes. Anyway, you can read out about that at uploadvr.com. Probably good news for content builders. Voicesofvr.com, many feeds, of course, throughout the week. Number 562. 3 days ago was about using dance as embodied communication and pushing the boundaries of editing and movement. Basically, it's look at the way dance lends itself to virtuality, considering how much is lost when it's translated into a 2D screen. And VRScout.com, again, I believe, this VR meditation experience responds to your heart and mind. This was another item, haptic kind of demonstration that was at the SIGGRAPH 2017. So VR Village, they had an area called VR Village, and it was on display there. I think we mentioned it on the previous news, a report from roadtovr.com about a new virtual world called Decentraland. Apparently they're using Ethereum blockchain ICO to sell virtual real estate. This connects with blockchain and Bitcoin and all that stuff. The Ethereum blockchain is, a Bitcoin type thing, and apparently they're using it to sell their plots of virtual real estate. Coincidentally, at that Road to VR link, there is another link through to another Voices VR podcast that actually talks about that as well. Right, medium.com, always a good read, of course. medium.com. Couple of days ago, Nomadic Review, virtual experience that you can touch. And this is a cleverly disguised article that's actually PR for something called Nomadic. The nomadic thing, it just looks like an Oculus Rift to me, but the lady who's wearing it is holding a gun and various stuff like that, and she can feel warm wind blow across her face and stuff like that. So it's obviously a headset with built-in wind generator or some other kind of gadgetry. Follow the link to medium.com, always a good site to see. The author or the section it's in is called Clubhouse. Right. Hypergridbusiness.com, post by none other than Maria Komolov. She still disappears from time to time. It's entitled 8 Key Virtual World Features Moving to VR. She's looking back on 8 years ago when she launched Hypergrid Business, but she talks about the compelling features of virtual worlds and how those features are needed by the greater VR experience. If it's going to be any good, basically. Fair enough. Right, VR-based treatment for vision disorders shows positive results in a peer-reviewed study. Again, this post comes from roadtovr.com, Ben Lang reporting. And the device they're talking about is Vivid Vision, virtuality-based treatment for lazy eye disorders. There you go. And it's been peer-reviewed by the Biomed Journal of a journal, okay? It's one of those ologies. Right. I'm not good on ologies, sorry. Right, voicesofvr.com again yesterday, or it might be the day before, depending how much this feed is reading. Number 563. Interesting on this, reflecting on AltSpace VR's technical achievements and social VR lessons learned. I actually forget, we must have covered this on last week's news, the fact that AltSpace VR is closing. So this is really a kind of look back interview. Apparently they held their official goodbye and closed officially on Thursday, Thursday gone, August the 3rd. But it seems that although a lot of it's gone, some of the servers are still up, and there may be a chance that other people can take them over or something, so that although AltSpace VR, the brand, the world has gone, some of the content may live on, but news of that to be revealed when it happens, of course. Right, Vice. This is an interesting link. I can't pronounce the author's name, let alone anything. It's the first look at motion capture, a new technology where avatars are created to be human-like as possible from a design company called Immersive in collaboration with Expressive AIR. The title of the article, if you can find it, is "I Got Turned into a 3D Avatar, and Here's What I Learned." Well, yep. That's quite a good headline for those who don't know already. Right, virtual reality news.net, low-cost virtual reality design tools, speeds the design process. This is looking at a program called Gravity Sketch. It's a bit like paintbrush and tilt and stuff. You have to use an Oculus or Steam VR, and it's a tool where you actually create in VR, not a tool for creating for VR, if you see the distinction. But compared with many advanced programs, this is like almost like a Google SketchUp type thing that actually works in 3D and I think the name Gravity Sketch comes from the fact that they employ a kind of elementary physics engine to sort of test the behavior of what you create. Right, rotovr.com again. They've been busy this week. Well, they always are, but they've been busy in terms of things I picked up on. Researchers have induced artificial movement sensation in VR using a 4-pole galvanic vestibular stimulation. You really did want to know that, didn't you? Right. Again, this was shown as part of the emerging technology installations of SIGGRAPH 2017 this week. And I refuse to repeat that sentence again. 4-pole galvanic vestibular stimulation. If you care to visit rotovr.com, you can no doubt find out more. But obviously, artificial movement sensation, as opposed to actual movement, could be rather interesting. It's got a little diagram with an arrow whizzing around somebody's head, and the head of the arrow looks like it's sort of done a full circuit of the head and it's about to go into the head. Go figure. Right. VR's answer to relaxation, meditation experiences. What else? And I have to go with this. It's actually love to either create your own world or visit another world or space somewhere on your own and just hang out to wonderful ambient noises and things and sort of chill out. So meditation is a good thing, and you can read all about the link is at The Verge, and it's basically a review of different videos. So the videos capture what it's like to come to a meditation center, and something called mindfulness. They have to make a new word for everything, don't they? That's been floating around for a while. Mindfulness has become a flourishing industry worth over some $1 billion. Right. Okay, that is under something, but don't ask me why. Right. Why character interactivity can make or break a VR experience. This is a post at uploadvr.com. And it's talking about headset stuff, obviously, but in fact, the sort of topics they're talking about really, screen-based virtual worlds too. If your characters can't interact and do stuff, then it can make or break the experience. And yes, Samsara. Take note. Right. Sorry, Lyndon. Right. Connect is an amazing virtual home for the apps in your life. This is a site called thegadgetflow.com. The as in THE, gadget GADGET, and then flow FLOW, but all one word. Thegadgetflow.com. And this post just came in maybe an hour or two ago before we come to you live with this. It's still in. You can get it apparently because it's one of these Kickstarter things, and if you make a pledge of some small amount, really, I think you get it. Their idea, and this is something I love from the user interface point of view, is it will work in headsets, but it will also work on a standard 2D desktop, and it basically brings the virtual world to your desktop so you can interconnect with your operating system via your own personal virtual world. And I had an old program which when it's running prevents me running any other game engine, unfortunately, but it was called Rooms 3D, and it basically converted the Microsoft File Explorer into a kind of 3D environment. You put down objects and you gave them system links to the folders or the applications you wanted, and it was fine. But obviously, if the application you chose wanted to fire up its own game engine or something, then the operating system's game engine collapsed. But hopefully this Program Connect will kind of sort that. So I was rather keen on that, although strictly it's your own virtual environment as a link, as it were, to another one. Right. Also this morning, a site called MediaPost.com. That's media and then post, but all one word, .com. Brands use virtual reality to activate aspirational experiences. Basically, it's looking at the commercial branding brands, you know, using VR to try and sell their products and are relying on aspirational experiences of the users as a method of making virtuality attractive as an advertising medium. Right, I hear a ping somewhere else. Okay, I'll come to that later. Right, okay, so that's it for my main Twitter feed. I'm now going to cross through to the Metaworld news feed on Twitter, twitter.com/Metaworld News. This morning, sl.governormarley.com, that's GOVERNORMARLEY, governormarley.com. Carrie-Anne Lavelle reporting. We don't normally cover too much on the Second Life front, but quite a few of the Second Life blogs this week I put into our news feed simply because they're not even talking about Second Life at all. They're obsessed with this new thing from Linda's called Samsara. So Governor Marley's post is about getting social in Samsara with the aid of speech graphics. And I certainly didn't see this when I was trying it out, but apparently when your voice is working, avatar heads turn and look in the direction of other people who are speaking.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
One avatar she knew was wearing a VR headset, and what took her by surprise was the mouth movements and facial expressions on some of the avatars. And she thought it was a feature of the headset, but then she found it was actually something that undocumented that's been built into Samsara. So there may be a few secret pluses behind whatever they're doing. Modem ME, that's MODEM. World, or one word, modemworld.me. This is an Ara Pays blog, wonderful writers. I follow this blog a lot. And on Monday, July 31st, Samsara open, blah, 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 the creator beta. And she covers a few things, but also she features a sort of interview with Bjorn Linden and Widely Linden. Lindens like their names, don't they? Where they're actually, the Lindens are actually discussing various aspects of Samsara itself. Right, a quick reminder, you can find a post about this at hypergridbusiness.com, David Karuki, August the 3rd. Avatar Fest entry deadline is August the 15th, and although the event isn't until September 23rd and 24th, the deadline for entries is coming up. If you'd like to know more about that, keep watching, because we'll be live on this channel at noon, again, with this week's Inworld review, and we have a couple of guests who will be talking about that very festival, so do join us then. Thursday, Ember, I had a post at plus.google.com. Right, you probably have to be following Thursday to get this. I don't think the click through works to. Oh, wait, it does. It does for me anyway. You can find the link in our Metaworld news stream anyway. Thursday, who's kind of the main person behind Hypergrid Safari, which is on a sort of sabbatical at the moment, is working on something called WOSKI, WOSKI, as in wiki, what OpenSim knows is ... And it's a bit hard to explain this, but the idea is it's a kind of wiki pointing to destinations and experiences on the hypergrid that people might in the real world be looking up. So if, for example, you've got to build a region dedicated to ancient Rome, or a landscape, for example, that is meant to mirror a real world location on, I don't know, the Irish West Coast or something. Or you've got a learning experience which is about chemistry or something like that. All these things would qualify for entry because they're tangible worlds, tangible facts that people might look up in a wiki. It's not a place for advertising shops and grids and stuff like that. It's simply an index of virtual world locations that have some kind of thematic connection with subjects or topics that people might be looking for in the real world. Thursday's example is to say if you're a fan of the Beatles or a history buff, or if you know all about Formula One, or you're an expert on llamas, or have a cool build that illustrates your favorite town, all those things could be in the WOSCI. And it doesn't matter whether it's on your own region, entire sim dedicated to it, or whatever. It's the thematic idea that counts. And she's actually launching it imminently with only 26 destinations. She's had this rather clever idea to start it going by making it into a sort of temporary alphabet. So the 26 destinations that she's going to put up first herself will be like, A is for apple trees, B is for broken, or whatever. You get the idea. And she'll be choosing, 26 words to go with letters of the alphabet. But long term, of course, the idea is it's a comprehensive kind of wiki you can look up. So good answers for that. Craftworld shuts down for weekend maintenance. Genesis is back up. There's a report on hypergoodbusiness.com from David. I did see a post this morning saying that Craftworld's finished its maintenance and is now back up. That was Riku, I think his name is, Craftworld posted that. A rather critical review of Samsara from our friend Will Burns at City of Nidus, City of and then NIDUS, so City of Nidus, or one word, .blogspot.com, and the title of the post is Samsara Dreams. It's not all critical, it's balanced, but there's a bit scathing about a few things. Grid within a grid, a great option. Oh, sorry, that's from last week. That's another Hypergrid business post. VentureBeat had an interesting article on Linden Labs launching of the open beta. And also there is a new release of the viewer called Alchemy. It's release number 5.0.6.41161 if you really go for those long numbers. And it's not a beta, it's an official release. And as it happens, I'm using it at this very moment as an alternative to Firestorm. Firestorm. And it's behaving fine. So I've always quite liked Alchemy for various reasons of my own. So clicking back there. And finally, before we close, Hyperico.com, which is now run by Fred Beckhausen of Outworld's fame. They've got a post, two posts really. One is about VGrid. VGrid is an academic grid of the Federal University of Pelotas in Brazil, and it's linked to the VGrad project. The article will tell you all about that. And they've also got a link to, well, it's not a new world, but it's probably a new review for Fred, and that's his Lost World, which is another friend of ours, Joe Builder, who runs Lost World, and it's a very large grid by any manner of means, but there's usually a fraction of it online at a given time, depending on what people want. But it's actually wonderful because he's probably got the entire world on his hard disk, and if somebody needs a region, he's usually got one ready that suits their theme, and just upload it for them. Anyway, that seems to be about it for me. So as I said, I gather it's been quite quiet on the developers front this week, but I'll just have a quick word from James to see if he's stumbled across anything interesting.
Yeah, sure, Mel. I wasn't able to attend the meeting on Tuesday, and for anyone watching this recording new, this is the weekly office hours meeting of developers where users and grid owners and anyone can gather to put questions about the OpenSim development code. And the meeting notes that I'm reviewing from the opensimulator.org website really show that there was a discussion about opening with physics, which is always an important discussion in these meetings, and really the interaction of physics engines, the mesh issue for objects that has been talked about the past few weeks, and then also the how that integrates with the viewers. And I just my big impression from the meeting is, other from some particular differences of opinion, there still is a lot of support that needs to be done from the viewer side. And so it's interesting that Alchemy has done a release this week, Mal. And I'm just curious to know, I'm going to have to dig into those notes and see if there's, any way that the viewer is taking a lead in, using physics, manipulating permissions, things like that. And then I think the conversation ended up talking about permissions and trying to follow the Second Life model of how permissions work, or trying to branch out and do something a little more sophisticated. And that is what I took from the meeting notes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yep.
Yeah, following Google Plus, I do actually see there's somebody called I can't remember their name. They call themselves Second Life Technologists. It seems to be. I'd never come across them in OpenSim, but they're quite around in Second Life. But obviously, but they're forever talking about OpenSim, and I think they raised some contentious issues about the version 8 becoming version 9. They're not things I tweet or anything, because it's simply commentary and talk. Yeah. But I did also notice there have been a few posts from Freaky Tech, for example, talking about updates he's doing to the Ariba core version. Well, it's not strictly a version of OpenSim. He'll be back channeling me in a second with any fault in what I say. Yeah. But he has actually been posting updates, and I notice in the course of that he has been running some kind of tests in things like Alchemy, Firestorm, maybe Singularity. I haven't really been following any detail, but I know he's been doing some viewer testing, whether it's just in relation to Ariba Sim, or whether it's in relation to things generally. You'd have to investigate further. But there's a lot going on if you are a member of Google Plus and follow these OpenSim World and OpenSim Virtual and all Safari, all the groups there. There's a lot of back chat that will tell you quite a lot of news. It will tell you a lot of news indirectly, but it's not certified news that we can talk about here as headline. Yep. Sort of thing. Anyway, we have to rush over to across the studio to our set to bring you the Inworld review, and I'm looking at the clock now, and because we started a bit late, we're finishing a bit late. A good 35 minutes, I think, of news today. It did seem like a long one. So I'd like to thank James for running our cameras here and helping us out with the dev news, and we will return same time, same place next week with the latest news roundup. I hope you all have a good week, and that's it for now. Goodbye.